Hello and welcome everybody. In this episode of Hidden History, we are going to discuss the deletion process of the Inca Empire and how they held advanced technology which the Incans used in the construction of their fortress temples. The edifice known as Sacsayhuamán or Sacsayhuamán is an incredible citadel on the northward perimeter of the city of Cusco in southern Peru. In the English language, the Incan fortress of Sacsayhuamán, also called the Incan Royal Falcon Fortress or Royal Hawk Fortress. This edifice was once the historic capital of the Inca Empire and was constructed at an altitude of 12,142 feet above sea level. The Incan fortress of Sacsayhuamán was apparently built by the Incas in 1438. The main part was built under Sapa Inca Pachacuti, who was the ninth monarch of the Cusco chiefdom, which he transformed into the Inca Empire. The longest of the three walls of the Sacsayhuamán is about 400 meters. They are about 6 meters tall. The estimated volume of stone is 6,000 cubic meters. Estimates for the weight of the largest limestone block vary from 128 tons to almost 200 tons. These stones were moved from an estimated 35 kilometers from a place called Rumicolca. So how were these stones moved from 35 kilometers away, weighing up to 200 tons, and then slotted in perfectly into these walls? Why was this particular location called Rumicolca actually used? The word Rumicolca in English language is derived from Rumi or stone, and this location was believed to be the gateway to the Incan Empire. But maybe this was some other type of gateway. Many parts in this area of Peru have a huge amount of Incan folklore which goes back to the Wari people, who were Mesoamericans that existed from about 550 AD to 920 AD. Theory suggests that the Wari people created aqueducts, huge edifices, and used a method called perca, where stones were carefully fitted together without the use of mortar. But still, how did the Wari people construct these incredible structures? Were they using acoustic levitation-based technology to move and put these rocks in place? According to the Spanish chronicler and conquistador Pedro Cesar de Leon, the Inca ordered 20,000 men to construct the wall, and he stated there were many buildings within the structure. Pedro Cesar de Leon apparently observed the building being constructed on 2 occasions, claiming it took 4,000 men to mine these 200-ton rocks. Remember, this was by hand. There was no machinery around at this time that we are told about. So they did this by hand and chisel? Pedro Cesar de Leon states many other happenings in his chronicle record, but he doesn't mention how they moved 200-ton rocks 35 kilometers up into the Andean mountain to 12,142 feet above sea level, where the Incan fortress was constructed. So they moved these rocks with sticks and rolled them up the hill? Or maybe were they actually using acoustic levitation technology? The siege of Cusco happened between 1536 to 1537 and was a 10-month war on the occupation of this district, led by Manchu Inca Yupanqui, who was a puppet Inca emperor installed by the Catholic Spaniards. After the siege, much of the site was destroyed, and what we see today are the remains of the largest stones that could not be removed. If Manchu Inca Yupanqui was a controlled Inca emperor and on the sides of the Spaniards, how can we trust any of the accounts from any of these Spanish conquistadors. They would have been all part of the same group. You would have had to have been quite an elite class to be a Spanish chronicler and conquistador like Pedro Cesar de Leon at this time. What was it they were so desperate to destroy? The province of Cusco is very close to the Ica province on the western Peruvian coast, and within this part of Peru you have the Ica stones. These are something that contradict the theory of evolution, suggesting the possible existence of dinosaurs within only the last 6,000 years, and not the outlandish claim we are given of 64 million years ago. The Ica stones also have a connection to the Nazca lines, which share some of the same symbols on them. This whole area of Peru in South America is full of remnants that entirely contradict the mainstream narratives of Western science. And it is by no mistake that most archaeological digs in this area are now not allowed. What is the Western science so desperate to cover up? Surely we would want knowledge so we can all expand and understand the world we live in. So the siege of Cusco was a complete takeover by the Catholic Spaniards, and they destroyed these Incan temples as they perceived such edifices as a threat to the Spanish Empire and the Roman Catholic Church. This is the reason why the merchants from the old world of mainland Europe had to delete and control our past. Because he who controls the past controls the present, and he who controls the present controls the future. Just like now, this desperate need for control is the same, because they cannot let consciousness rise to a higher level. Inti in Inca religion was the sun god and was believed to be the ancestor of the Incas. They built incredible temples. They understood the planets, the sacred geometry of the earth. So this was no way a primitive civilization. Although we are told that the headpieces and clothing were used as a symbol in Inca society to indicate wealth and status, when gold, silver was very accessible to the Inca. The gold was referred as the tears of the sun, and the silver associated with the moon. What if these precious metals, headpieces, their clothing, was actually used for something far more powerful and maybe even connecting to higher sources of energy? What if this story we have been given is complete fabrication? It is still a mystery today to how these Incan walls and the original Incan fortress were truly constructed, but it would be the same way the world pyramids were constructed, even though Western science still denies how acoustic levitation was used to build these structures. If we look at the Latvian polymath known as Edward Leeds Scalanin, who constructed Coral Castle, which is a large structure constructed by one individual, we can see that they were using a form of acoustic levitation. This is how Edward Lee Scalanin stated that he constructed Coral Castle in Florida. I have discovered the secrets of the world pyramids and have found out how the dynastic Chinese, the Egyptians, and the builders from the Wari culture and the Inca Empire in southern Peru, the Yucatan Peninsula of Central America, and the Asian continent, with only primitive tools, raised and set blocks of stone weighing many tons. The same kind of huge megalithic construction like the Sacsayhuamán stones can also be found in classical Greece in the Cyclopean walls and the stones of Baalbek in Lebanon, where some of the stones weigh over 1,000 tons. All these structures, as in with stone circles and stone temples, were built with limestone, granite and sandstone because these stones are electrical conductors, and these earth temples were built on geomagnetic ley lines and intersecting nodes. Such constructions therefore enhance the potential of telluric electricity, which constantly emanates from planet Earth. That, combined with capturing the electricity from the ether, this was the energetic source of the Old World Empire. And there has been a huge deletion in the historical narratives to ensure this concept is ignored. Thank you for watching, everybody. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Also, please remember we have a member section with lots of extra content. See you in the next one.